Okay, here we are. Building Science Friday Live on location. Mark Wille, Dave Cooper, and our good friend Patrick. Dave, where are we?
We are in Stratford, Connecticut at Two Roads Brewing, and we are here learning about BS. That's right, building science at the Building Science Symposium. This event is awesome, and Patrick, he just can't wait to say something. I hear him over here giggling.
You're having a great time, I can tell, and it's for good reason because this is an amazing event.
Yeah, it really is an amazing event. That room out there is packed, full of people here to learn. You're with Fine Homebuilding. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are, because you're usually the one interviewing us, but we're interviewing you today.
So when you came up to me outside in the conference room, you said, do you want to do an interview? And I was like, well, I'll interview anyone you want me to, but you were like, no, we'll interview you, and that was kind of confusing.
Yeah, for sure.
So the folks that come here are giving up of their workday where they could be out making money, but instead they're wanting to do a good job for their business and their clients. So they're here learning about important stuff.
It's an investment in their next job, right?
Yeah, and having the knowledge and getting trained in this kind of stuff helps you get better clients.
The hardest thing to find when you're pursuing more, right? When you're investing in yourself is like-minded people. Because we spend so much time focused on the estimate we have to get out the door, the plywood sheet that we forgot to bring, the punch list that we didn't know we have. And so when you're surrounded by folks that are trying to learn, investing in building better, and then you see that commonality, it's like now you can just go any direction, right? There's no boundary.
Yeah, and it makes it more normal, Mark. You might think you're in a vacuum, but when you're around these like-minded people, you're like, wow, this is something that's happening, and we all think it's important, so we're spending our own time here learning about it.
Yeah. We've done this for 3.5 years.
I know, straight.
This is the answer that we have been waiting for. It makes it, really, it makes it more normal because this is an analytical group, right? They're all in their heads. They're learning about numbers they don't get. They're achieving numbers they didn't even know they needed to. And so if it appears normal, then that's setting the new standard.
That is setting the new standard. Listen, there's a reason Fine Homebuilding is here, right? Fine Homebuilding magazine, if you're in this industry, you know them, you're here to learn. But here's the thing about it, right? And this is what I like about this event. You have the opportunity to come here and learn from a bunch of experts that are still learning each and every day, that are learning from your questions, but you also get the people that are behind the scenes and part of the scene, like you are with your podcast, from Fine Homebuilding, where you have the opportunity to truly ask people that talk about it and study it every day. You're not on an island by yourself. If you just get out of that comfort zone of doing another proposal on a spreadsheet and take a day for yourself, these are the people you meet, and Patrick's one of them.
So, inspiration, the audience knows certain names, and Travis and Joe, to the best of my memory, created this in their home market because of the Keep Craft Alive event that they attended. Is that right?
It was the Fine Homebuilding Summit that we had in 2018, I believe it was, and that is the most flattering thing anyone has ever said about the Fine Homebuilding Summit, and it was an amazing experience, and this is also an amazing experience because as we keep talking about, you learn not only building science basics that are going to help you apply what you learn in your real world jobs, you're going to find people who can ask the right questions, the things that you might not have thought about. You might be able to pick their brain on a problem that you have that they've already dealt with. And, there's something to be said for a cadre of builders because they want to help each other. It's really kind of fun to watch, right?
It's really fun to watch because the first 2 years, and I think you were at both of those as well, was in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And now we're in more of the New England area. This is Dave's stomping grounds, and well, it's your stomping grounds too. But for me, the conversations that are being had are different. And so I'm really proud of the companies that help put this on so that we could continue the dialogue in a climate-specific, workforce-specific, even material-specific use. It's hard for folks to hear what's going on in Seattle or Germany when you're here. And so if the pickup truck that you've never met is right there, you feel welcomed and you feel comfortable asking the question, regardless of in your head, is that dumb? No, it's not dumb. It's the same question everyone else has, right? You're just comfortable asking it, and everyone else learns from your question.
It's true. They're going to ask questions you hadn't thought of, and you're going to say to yourself, boy, that's a really good question. I'm glad someone asked that.
And then magazines write articles so more of us can read it because they weren't here to attend it, right? It's that outreach of knowledge.
One of the best parts of this for me personally is I get to meet the good builders in the area, the people who want to do a good job, and I get to talk to them about their projects, and maybe we get a fit for fine home building or maybe not, but I get to see where they're coming from.
Right.
They get to ask me questions about, why do you guys cover this stuff, or why do we want to do this? And I get to talk to the folks who get to benefit from fine home building and the building science education that they're getting.
It's a great question. Why does fine home building do this? Why does fine home building go out and try and find the people that are truly trying to build it better and keep the craftsmanship alive?
So a number of my colleagues had never been to this event, and when we were talking about it and in a staff meeting, all I could say is, it's our tribe. They will be little more validating than the folks you're going to meet at this event. And if you're lucky, you might meet the person who's going to give you a great feature article, or you might get some insights into the brand you didn't have.
Right.
Or you might learn about a new product that is going to be beneficial to other builders. So all of those reasons and more.
Do you see a trend happening in building science? Do you see the next generation of builders really starting to embrace this? Or are you seeing still a lot of the same old same that we've been seeing out there all these years?
So this is rarefied air. I think you'd agree, Dave. But I am heartened because especially young people seem to be really caring about making better houses.
Right.
Sad part is when you go out in the rest of the world and you see reverse laps on house wrap and missing flashing and bad roofing details, you're like, boy, we have a lot of work to do yet. So, you know, part of getting the word out is the mission of fine home building about that there is a better way. So coming here is part of that.
How about technology moving forward? Are you seeing more technology come into the space? We know lasers are getting better, plan readings getting, better. What are you seeing moving forward that people are starting to really embrace to build it better and to get to those fine details needed?
Well, it's been decades now, but of course blower doors are high-tech instruments, and dual channel manometers, all of that, the techie geary stuff.
Sure.
But on a more basic level, I think people are getting better at understanding how buildings work.
Right.
That's probably what we should be striving for, is teaching people how to think about buildings rather than, making it a sales pitch.
Sure.
HVAC systems are something that I think has come a long way in our industry, right?
Yeah.
So when I was a teenager, I would help my uncle, who was an HVAC contractor, install R12 very basic systems right now. And when I look at the technology behind the inverter mini splits and other variable capacity systems, it blows my mind. It's amazing. It works so much better.
Well, we had big boilers, right?
Yeah.
That were introduced to the home after the fireplaces.
Coal-fired,
Yeah.
by the way.
Coal, right? The coal chute. How many people spec a coal chute in the house, right? Before it was.
My house growing up had a coal chute and a coal cellar. Yeah,
That's right.
Absolutely.
Hey, and according to Ben Bogie, this was happening back in the 1800s. They were firing it up in the basement and sending the heat up inside the walls.
And now we have homes that not only do they not have coal, shocker, they don't have fireplaces, and they don't have gas lines. So when you said mechanical, I was like, and we don't cover it enough. All electric homes are a new way of changing it. Now, 5 years from now, we might be having another conversation. But today, that is a really neat standard, and it's not just what sat in your basement or maybe on a wall or in a closet, but it's transcending the conversation to the kitchen. The kitchen has a cooktop, and so all of that transcends, because, well, if I'm going to remove that, and my mechanical system's going to have this, then what do I do about the kitchen? And that conversation is now not just about the comfort of the space and the fresh air machines, but now it's about what we use to heat our food and to feed our families.
And technology, the air quality monitoring has allowed us to learn that that's a problem. And we might not have known. I was telling someone earlier today that, people said I outgrew my asthma, but what changed in my life was I got out of my parents' moldy house and got out on my own, and that's what made me healthier.
We talk about that all the time on our show. I mean, we've had some of the experts on, Cheryl Seco and all these others. Your home really can make you sick, make you have asthma, your allergies or migraine headaches. So there's ways to test that now, and it's as simple as a $200 little device that you can just sit in there and find out what's going on.
The Hayward score, one of our first guests on the show, said go in your crawl space or basement and spray lemon pledge. If you smell lemon pledge in your bedroom upstairs, there's air moving from your basement up to there.
I love how common sense that is. That's fantastic.
Right? It
so when we're having these airtight buildings and these fresh air machines, while we talk about that change in tech and how to monitor it, it's everything we're introducing to the house besides the building materials. If your team took care of that, what you're introducing to that house is another factor. So the shoes you buy, the pillows, the mattresses, and the cleaners, right? Think about that, because now that your building is sealed, that is going to stay there, and that is going to be a part of your habitat. So just like if you don't want chocolate chip cookies in your house, and I hope you have them in your house, but just if you say that you don't, then don't bring them into your house and they won't be there. So don't bring bleach into your house and you won't be using it to clean. So these aspects are transformative, and I think it's a like-minded group that does that. So the builders that are using that mentality, or the consumers that cause that for their builders, then remember the cleaning crew and the products you buy are just as important.
So at this event, right, we got Fine Home Building here. We have some of the contributors to the Fine Home Building magazine here as well. I mean, it's been a magazine to go to, and an online presence, right? It's not just a magazine, now you're even bigger online. It's the online presence of information curated for all of you out there, for the trades. Did I say that right?
I think that was a pretty good description.
Yeah.
Fine home building is for anyone who's really into home building.
Yeah.
So there are people who punch a clock, and that's fine. That trade work there's plenty of room for those folks. But when you're really into it, whether you're a designer, a homeowner, we call them enthusiasts, or a builder, remodeler, Fine Home Building, if you care about it, is for you.
Yeah, for sure. So I would recommend, outside of coming to these symposiums, you should also check out the Fine Home Building magazine, or what is it, finehomebuilding.com?
Finehomebuilding.com. Fine Home Building Podcast.
Fine Home Building Podcast.
Podcast
Boy,
everywhere.
who's the host for the podcast, Mark? Do you have any idea who that could be?
I bet there's someone with a better smile and better voice than you and I.
So let's talk about this podcast. I had the honor of being asked to be on it a few months back, but why don't you tell everybody what you focus on your podcast?
So there are two. When the COVID outbreak started, we started the Fine Home Building Pro Talk podcast, and that's what you were on. We talked to industry professionals. The industry professionals, we kind of play fast and loose. We talk to all kinds of people, from industrial hygienists to insurance experts to business experts. But the original Fine Home Building podcast is a Q&A show where the editors and Fine Home Building contributors answer questions from listeners, and it is super fun. It's a highlight of my day when we get to record one of those, for sure.
Listen, now's the time to be a professional in this industry. All the information's out there. Fine Home Building's putting it out. The Building Science Symposium is putting it out there regionally now, 6, 7, 8 times a year. So there's no reason to not be a master of your craft. That's the way I'm looking at it, And I think, all the people that have showed up here today to meet with yourself and all the speakers, to meet with Mark, it's a true testament to where the industry's going. Because when you started, how long have you been with Fine Home Building? We were talking about this, 2013, was it, or 2010?
2010.
2010. There was not this much information out there as there is today, was there?
On building science? No.
Yeah.
No way.
Right.
Yeah, it's getting a lot better. Because it has to. Buildings are harder to build.
They are.
Right? I mean,
You probably had that Joe Seabrook book on your shelf,
oh my
right?
gosh, that was formative in my career. So, The Builder's Guide to Cold Climate, published by Taunton Press, 2 decades before I ever worked here.
Right.
and re-release because they run out of copies, right? It's one of those books
my gosh, it actually shows you how to build things, right? That's the miracle.
Right way.
Yeah,
it
shows you assemblies.
It does. You know, Patrick, is there anything that we've left out that you think super important to talk about, whether it's with Fine Home Building or about, you know, the event we're at here?
I would say do yourself and your clients a favor and get up to speed on building science, because building science is not just science. It's about comfort. It's about durability of buildings. It's about providing value for your clients, encouraging them to spend money on things that matter instead of things that don't. Right. So, you know, I think it's up to all of us to try and elevate the industry, and I think that's how we're going to do it.
Yeah, and to have a healthier family that lives in those homes.
Right.
100%. Mark, what do you think? How awesome is it?
Summing it up the best way possible, he wears it on his shirt. Keep craft alive.
Hashtag keep craft alive.
I don't even think hashtags were invented when that phrase was invented. In fact, I think hashtags are here because of this one. You heard it here first.
That's it. All right, everybody, Stratford, Connecticut, Two Roads Brewery, BS Friday with Mark Bare Naked Willie. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks, Patrick, for joining us today.
It was a pleasure, Dave.
Fine Home Building right here with us. We'll see you next time.